welcome to The Explainer. Okay, so today we're diving into a really fascinating shift in how we think about, how we store, and how we share our personal knowledge on the internet. We're looking at this concept called digital gardening. If you've ever felt just completely overwhelmed by the sheer pace of the modern web, where everything is an ephemeral post that basically vanishes into the digital abyss by tomorrow, well, this is absolutely for you. Digital gardening is a much healthier, more contextual, and deeply personal approach to publishing your ideas online.
But before we start planting, we've kind of got to ask ourselves a really fundamental question. Are we trapped in the stream? Think about your daily internet experience for a second. Most of us are pretty fatigued by the modern timeline-based web. We open an app and bam, we're hit with this relentless, fleeting flow of feeds. Information just rushes past us in reverse chronological order. It's built for these immediate, loud thoughts that grab your attention for a few fleeting seconds, and then they just disappear forever. It's exhausting, isn't it?
Okay, let's dive into this core tension. On one side of the paradigm, we've got the stream. It's fleeting, it's chronologically sorted, and frankly, it only really cares about the zeitgeist. Whatever the hot topics of the last 24 hours are. But on the right side, we have the antidote, the garden. A digital garden is highly contextual, it's slow-growing, it's a dedicated space where your knowledge is interlinked and allowed to accumulate over time instead of just rushing past you in an endless blur.
Now, to figure out how we got trapped in this stream in the first place, we actually have to rewind all the way to the year 2001. As researcher Amy Hoy points out, this was the year the blogging software Movable Type launched, and that ushered in what she calls the chronological sort era. Literally overnight, people stopped hand-coding these unique, diverse, hodgepodge web spaces. Instead, they started typing into standardized form fields, and their thoughts were automatically sorted by date, latest first. It effectively killed the wild personalization of the early web. But the good news? The dream of that wild web didn't die completely. It just went dormant, kind of waiting for the right conditions to grow again.
Section 1. Roots of the Movement. A Brief History.
So, you might be thinking digital gardening is just the latest tech trend, right? Well, the roots actually run surprisingly deep. The term starts way back in 1998 with Mark Bernstein's essay, Hypertext Gardens, which was all about how to organize this brand new medium called the web. Then, fast forward to around 2007, early Twitter users started using the phrase to mean digital puttering, like cleaning up files and weeding out old photos. But the real breakthrough? That happened in 2015 with a totally pivotal essay by Mike Caulfield, which finally gave the movement its modern philosophy. And that really laid the groundwork for this massive, exciting explosion of interest we saw between 2018 and 2020, heavily fueled by the incredibly passionate indie web community. And that brings us to Mike Caulfield. He is really the original, coherent voice of the modern digital garden. He notes that the garden is the web as topology, the web as space. It's the integrative web, the iterative web. And what he's emphasizing here is that a digital garden is fundamentally a behavior. It's a way of accumulating information over time. It's not a specific software tool, it's not some WordPress plugin, and it's definitely not a template. It is a massive mindset shift about how we behave and exist online. Which brings us back to a challenge that's literally existed since that very first 1998 essay, the navigation problem. It's this eternal struggle to find the perfect balance between chaos and structure. Like, you want to give your visitors enough guidance so they don't get completely lost in the weeds, but you also want them to freely explore without forcing them down some rigid, predefined path. Basically, digital gardeners want to create a pick-your-own-path experience for their readers, totally moving away from that top-down control.
So what exactly makes a website a digital garden? If it's not a specific piece of software and it's fundamentally different from the standard personal blogs we're all used to, what's the actual blueprint? How do you sit down and build one of these spaces for yourself?
Section 2. The 6 gardening patterns. To figure out how we actually build these spaces, we turn to the core ethos of the movement. And based on the extensive research of designer and developer Maggie Appleton, we can break this ethos down into 6 distinct design patterns. These are the structural pillars that modern digital gardeners are really rallying around. Pattern number 1, topography over timelines. A true digital garden simply does not care about publication dates. Instead of sorting by what's newest, gardens are organized around contextual relationships. Ideas are connected by themes and associative links. Because there's no most recent feed dumping readers into the content, an explorer can enter your garden at literally any point and just wander through based purely on their own curiosity.
Now, the secret mechanism making this topography possible is the bidirectional link. Instead of your standard web link that just boots you away to a new page, a bidirectional link shows you both where you're going and what page linked to the current page you're reading. These really dense two-way links create this rich, interconnected landscape rather than a single linear pathway. It effectively allows for these endless, fascinating rabbit holes of information where concepts naturally just bump into one another.
Pattern number 2 is continuous growth. Unlike a printed article or a static blog post that gets published with a timestamp and then literally never touched again, garden pages are fundamentally never finished. Think about an actual soil and cabbage garden in your backyard. It's constantly growing, it's evolving, and changing with the seasons. Your digital garden pages should do the exact same thing. They should contract and expand alongside your constantly evolving thoughts. But honestly, this requires a massive shift in how we present ourselves. On the web today, we are entirely used to performative blogging. We act like tiny, perfect magazines. We do all our research in private, we completely hide our messy process, and we only push out this final grand flourish. Digital gardening is the exact opposite. It's an open process. You're researching and refining your ideas in public. It's supposed to be a low-friction daily ritual of tending to growing ideas, rather than stressing over some perfect final product that absolutely has to go viral. Which leads us seamlessly to pattern number 3, imperfection and learning in public. And honestly, this should be a massive relief for anyone wanting to share their thoughts online. Gardens are imperfect by design. You don't have to be some ultimate certified expert to post something. You simply share what you learn as you're actively learning it. But I will say, this profound freedom does come with a specific responsibility. You've got to make the unpolished status of your notes completely transparent to the reader. Maggie Appleton actually handles this transparency brilliantly with her own note taxonomy. You can use these really fun horticultural metaphors to categorize the learning stages of your thoughts. So you have seedlings for very rough, early ideas that are just starting to form. Then you have budding for notes you've started to clean up and clarify. And finally, evergreen for work that's reasonably complete, though of course you're still going to tend to it over time. It tells your reader exactly where an idea stands the very second they click on it.
Other pioneers in this space, like the writer Gwern, take that transparency a step further using an epistemic status. Basically, this is a short statement or a metadata tag that explicitly tells the reader how sure you are about an idea and exactly how much effort you put into researching it. This feeds perfectly into our growing modern desire for radical transparency, right? It gives us clear breadcrumbs back to the source and tells us the overall strength of your ideas.
All right, pattern number 4. Gardens are playful, personal, and experimental. Let's be real. Trying to fit the entirety of your complex human existence into a cookie-cutter, 240-character social media bio is just impossible. Gardens should be unique play spaces. They allow creators to express their quirks, their wild experiments, and their true, high-fidelity selves using the native, flexible tools of the open web, instead of forcing everything into a rigid corporate template. Pattern 5 is intercropping and content diversity. Think about real-world agriculture for a second. Relying purely on one single crop, monocropping, is historically the quickest route to starvation and famine. Well, the exact same principle applies to your ideas. Relying purely on linear text is a massive missed opportunity. A truly healthy digital garden requires deep diversity to thrive. So, intercrop a massive variety of elements. Plant podcasts, videos, interactive web animations, diagrams, rough sketches, code snippets. Put them right next to your text. The internet is a brilliant audio-visual cornucopia. By fully embracing this diversity, you allow yourself and your readers to explore complex ideas fully, from multiple angles, without ever being restricted to just plain paragraphs on a stark white page. Section 3. Claiming your digital patch. Because here's the crucial point. All of this beautiful, contextual, experimental growth means absolutely nothing if someone else can just come along and pave over your garden tomorrow. And that brings us to pattern 6, independent ownership. To build a digital garden that will actually last for decades, it must be fully owned and controlled by you. You can't plant this garden on the rented servers of Facebook, LinkedIn, or Medium. You need to use reliable web-native formats like HTML, CSS, and flat markdown files. If a trendy platform goes under, your creations absolutely shouldn't sync with it. It really comes down to a stark reality between two versions of the web. On one side, we have centralized walled gardens. Think Facebook, Twitter, Medium. These platforms actively fight against the slow accumulation of personal knowledge, and they definitely do not give you an easy export button to take your data somewhere else. But on the other side, we have the open web. It's independently owned, it's highly adaptable, and it is incredibly resilient.
It's built from the ground up for long-term survival, allowing you to participate in the future of the internet entirely on your own terms.
So, we've covered the history, the core philosophy, and the specific structural patterns that make digital gardening such a compelling alternative to that exhausting timeline feed. Now the rest is really up to you. It's time to finally escape the stream, embrace the imperfection, interlink your fascinating thoughts, and start nurturing a space that grows continuously right alongside your mind. So, I'll leave you with this question. What will you plant in your corner of the open web?